Okay, this is going to sound totally backwards, but what if the best thing you can do to build healthy relationships with family is to not go to the family get together that is stressing you out? Hands down, that was the number one thing that shifted my relationship with extended family, was not going when I felt so guilty and so much pressure that like I needed to show up. But for 10 years, I kept on pushing myself to just keep on going, because if I keep on going, it's going to get easier. It's going to be, the relationships will build, and it's something's just at some point going to get better, but that wasn't happening. And so I finally realized, like, this is not working. I cannot keep pushing myself. Like, if I'm feeling stressed out, I finally gave myself permission to stay home, even though I felt a ton of guilt in doing that. But that was the defining moment where I went from realizing, okay, so here's what happens, is that when we push ourselves to keep on showing up, because we're not allowed to not show up, we have to go. Like it's so weird when if you're a people pleaser, and you may or may not realize just how much of a people pleaser you are, which if you're not totally sure, then grab the people pleasing assessment in the description below. You're answering a handful of yes or no questions and then tallying them up. And I think you might be quite surprised. I know I was, where I remember a time where, as I'm going through those questions, I'm like, yeah, I would have said yes to every single one of them. And so I'm a recovering people pleaser, because it's just in us, some of us, to we're like, we know technically we have a choice. We can choose to not go to the family get-togethers that are stressing us out, but we don't actually have a choice, right? So technically, yes, but in reality, no, we don't have a choice, because it's just wrong to not show up. And as Christians, I think this really gets to us, where it's not just that we're afraid of disappointing people, but we're afraid of disappointing God. But there was one family get together that I finally, after 10 years, chose to stay home for. I was more than happy to send my husband and my one, we just had one child at the time. So sent both of them off to have a wonderful time, and I stayed home. And it was the defining moment where I went from being angry and resentful at family members to being able to finally, as time went on, I was able to enjoy them. Because here's what happens, is that when we keep on showing up, that makes us conclude that we don't actually have a choice. So if you're able to, if you're like, you know what, I can't do it today, I'm going to stay home, then you have a choice. But if you are not able to do that, then you're no matter what you feel, no matter how stressed out you are, no matter how much you just don't want to go to the family get together, it's not that you don't care about people, it's the dynamics, it's just hard and you need some space. But if you push through that, which we tend to think, well, that's the Christian thing to do, that's the loving thing to do, then when you push through that, that communicates to you that you do not have a choice. You don't have boundaries. You do not have personal space. You as a person are not respected. And when we feel that, we are going to be angry and resentful towards the people who put us in that situation, which in this case is going to be your family members. And then when you are resentful and angry at someone, you cannot build a healthy relationship with them. So for me to think, okay, well, I am having a hard time. Like sometimes, some get-togethers, I'm fine. Other times I'm having a hard time, but no matter what I felt, I kept on showing up, thinking, well, if I keep on showing up, eventually it'll get easier and the relationships will build and this will just somehow work out. Then if that wasn't happening. So what I finally had to do, and again, I felt so much guilt, and I wanted my husband to give me permission. Like I was telling him, just, this is hard, this is stressful. I need to just know that if I'm having a hard time, I can stay home, which is the choice that I made. But, and my husband was like, he was totally okay with it. It wasn't comfortable for him, because for both of us, it was kind of like, well, we both always show up together. So unless I'm like out sick and I can't stand up without falling over, then it's like, well, if I'm feeling okay and I'm home, and he's going to the family get together, of course I have to show up too. And so for me to make the choice, because I was just stressed out and having a hard time, and it's not because anyone else did anything wrong, it's that with where the relationships were at, it's just I needed to stay home. And more than that, I needed to know that I had a choice, that if I'm stressed out, I can make a choice and I can stay home and I'm not forced to push through. That was so huge, because that took me from, for years, being resentful at other people, because if I don't have a choice, my anger goes somewhere, and it's going to go to the people that put me in this situation, which again, in that case, is extended family. Then when I finally said, you know what, I'm having a hard time, I'm going to stay home. I feel so guilty to make that choice. I feel so wrong. But when I finally made that choice, I was able to, after that, it was like, all of a sudden, the next family get together was like, oh my goodness, I actually want to go. And I felt so much more relaxed. Not that I felt completely relaxed, because it's like, you may or may not have that immediate shift, but there's something in us that it's like, if we know that no matter how disappointed in us other people may be, if we learn to respect our own boundaries and to make choices in order to respect our boundaries, because we know we're not quitting on people, right? Like, that's not the goal. It's like, we don't want to quit on people. We're just having a hard time, and we need to be able to stay home when we're having a hard time and we're stressed out. There's something about that all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're no longer pushing ourselves. We don't feel pushed by other people, because we're just saying, this is what I need, and I'm going to honor the fact that this is what I need. Then the resentment goes away. I think that was the best thing, that all of a sudden was like, I'm not angry at other people because I can finally make a choice. And I think the other thing that scares us, again, before I move on, is that if you are not totally sure just how much of, like, if this is resonating for you, but and you want some kind of clear answers, then grab the people pleasing assessment in the description below. Okay, so I think one of the things that scares us is that, at least for me, it was like, if I say no, or if I finally realize or acknowledge just how much I'm struggling with certain family dynamics or certain get-togethers, then I'm going to, if I say no this time, I'm going to want to say no every single time. That might happen for you, but what I found is that it was like 2 out of 10 times. So like 2 out of 10 times, because I was like, if I'm having a hard time, I'll just stay home. I knew that that's what I needed. And I finally, after years, respected that. And then the way it played out was 8 out of 10 times, I was happy to go. And I even wanted to go, which was brand new to me. And then 2 out of 10 times, because randomly, there was no rhyme or reason. It's just, I'm having a hard time. I need to stay home. My husband and kids would go. And again, it was like, okay, I have a choice. I can respect my own space. And then I guess another fear might be that, well, what if someone's angry at you? Or what if I think it's just like, well, what are people going to think? And so part of this might be, you can give people a heads up and say, like, in whatever way you need to communicate that it's like, it's not that anyone did anything wrong. It's just, I just need some me time. I need some home time. I need some, like, so this is perfect if your spouse and kids go and then you've got some time at home. And when I communicated that, like, everyone understood that. It was like, it wasn't a problem. And so all of those fears of, like, what are people going to think? And I'm doing this totally wrong. And this isn't a loving thing to do. This isn't a Christian thing to do. When I finally just accepted the fact that I'm having a hard time, I'm stressed out, and what I needed to do was to just say, I just need to know I can stay home, rather than pushing through this, everything shifted. Okay, it was the best thing I have ever done to build healthy relationships with family members, because I needed to know that I had a choice. And I think sometimes we want other people to give us permission, right? Like with my husband, I wanted him to give me permission, which he did, but I still felt guilty. So it was still like, okay, I'm making this choice, even though, and he's totally okay with it. And not that, not in a weird way of like, I'm not allowed to if he doesn't give me permission, but internally, we want permission from other people. We want like someone else in the family to give us permission, or we want our spouse, or we want someone outside of us because we feel like that we don't have a choice, because it's like, well, I'm not allowed to not show up, and that we feel that because we think that that's like that pressure is put on from other people outside of us. So then we want that permission to also come from them. And you may or may not get that, right? You might have someone who tells you you're doing it wrong, in which case you're going to have to face that and decide how you're going to work through that. But you got to make a choice. Either are you going to keep on pushing through 10 out of 10 times, knowing that the anger is going to build, the resentment's going to build, and you will not have a healthier relationship with people. It's not like maybe 1 out of a million, you're going to end up with healthy relationships. But again, you cannot build healthy relationships based on anger and frustration and resentment. So, and you're feeling that anger, frustration, resentment when you feel pushed. And so just simply saying, I'm stressed out, I'm going to stay home, or do whatever you need to do, that lets you know you have a choice. Even if you feel that wave of guilt, you still have a choice. And when we realize we have a choice, then all of a sudden we're like, okay, I'm like, it takes the anger or the resentment away. Like we're all of a sudden, I mean, it was almost like a poof, it's just gone. It was like, I'm no longer angry at other people, because I'm like, oh, I'm like an adult in the group with other adults, and I can make a choice. I'm not controlled by other people. I can actually make choices in my own life that make me feel respected. And so often if you're frustrated with things in life and you identify what is actually bothering you, and you make a choice based on that, then a lot of this extra frustration goes. A lot of those, like where little things bother you all over the place, that starts to go away when you identify what is actually the problem and what is irritating you, and you respect it, even if the next person doesn't. And even if the next person thinks you're doing it totally wrong, when you learn to identify what is bothering you and you respect it, there's a whole lot of healing that comes after that. And the amazing benefit is that my relationships with family members could finally grow. I could finally learn, or not learn to, but I could finally enjoy people because I wasn't angry at them anymore. Because when I was stressed out, because a family gathering or get together was coming up, and I could just say, you know what, this 1 out of 10 is stressing me out, I'm going to stay home. That rather than pushing through, it was so game changing and so life giving. So, okay, that is all. So lastly, if you are not sure just how much this whole dynamic is playing a huge role in your life, then grab the people pleasing assessment in the description below. And lastly, remember to read the Bible, get lost in the story of God, and play your part. And I will talk to you soon.